Hey everyone, and this is going to be the BetterTOS2 role tier list. There are a lot of changes, and we'll get into more of those changes in depth as the weeks go on. But I wanted to get this out up first to where we can, talk about the new tier list, talk about a lot of the role changes, kind of in a slower, methodical video. This is the old tier list that we discussed previously. I've done a few changes to it since, but this is pretty much where we're at. I'm going to do that. There. That's pretty much where we at it. Obviously not 100%, but pretty close. So we're going to start with a fresh new tier list. Still dead as Spy. They have not fixed Spy yet. Is what it is, right? So let's start. Executioner has returned to the game, and you notice on the previous tier list, it belongs in F tier, and that is true. It can't be recruited anymore. That was a bug fix. However, it's Town of Salem 1, and you don't end up killing someone. You just force non-voting, which could help. It mainly helps evils, could help other sides. It's just, again, Executioner for TOS 1. The only reason it was useful at all is because it was easy to win in Season 4 of Ranked. Next up, Coven Leader. Let's go to one that really got helped. Coven Leader originally was in like D tier. I'm gonna move her all the way up to A tier now. Coven Leader's new ability to morph Coven roles and have permanent basic defense when they're still Coven Leader makes it definitely one of the best Coven. I still don't think the best Coven, but I think one of the best Coven. Marshall lost their 3 Tribunes and can now only do 2, but can do it twice. But has more of a chance to die, and so is going to drop down to B tier. I know, kind of interesting. But I think less killing power off the bat, but maybe more strategic killing power, but still a little bit weaker. Let's talk about the biggest nerf so far. And this shouldn't surprise you if you've watched my stuff. Deputy's F tier now. Deputy went from being a really fun role that was definitely powerful, definitely probably overpowered, to a role basically to Jinx, targeted Jinx, that you have to guess who that person's visiting, who you have to guess a target, and like, will that person visit this person? Then I may attack them. Yeah, not great. Getting rid of one of the ways that town can deal with multiple evils is not healthy for the game, in my opinion. But this isn't my game. Indirectly, and I'm okay with this, indirectly, this buffs Jester now. Because Jester now doesn't have to worry about deputies shooting them. That's good for Jester. Crusader is up next. Crusader's up next if I can get it. There we go. Crusader was in B tier. It is now in D tier. It's lost all of its killing power. It now just roll blocks, which doesn't really make it that much of a town protective. But I don't know. It The fact that it role blocks multiple people is. Do I put it in C tier? I think I can. The fact that Cleric and Bodyguard and Oracle are all currently in C tier, and Crusader's worse than all four of them. I think D tier's fine. Illusionist got a really cool new ability called Hysteria. That we don't know a whole lot about, but I'm going to put Illusionist in B tier, going up from C tier. Just the ability to just decide, I'm going to make every single TI useless for a night. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That might warrant it up to B tier eventually, or an A tier eventually. I can't wait to play it. Check it out. Go move you in. And Cursed Souls. So Cursed Souls was D tier. But with the new WinCon change, I'm going to put Cursed Souls up into B tier now. Just waiting, because normally you had to beat everyone. Now you just have to beat the Cursed Souls people. And that can get pretty good. Like, I had a game where one of the Cursed Souls ended up to be... Well, one of the Cursed Souls says, "Oh no, I switched," and there was a Ritualist. And so that just benefited us, and it's not like we're against the Coven, unless the Coven turns into a Cursed Soul. So I really like the Cursed Soul role now, and you will find when I do the game mode tier list that I think Wandering Souls is a much better game mode. Alright, let's talk about some things that didn't exactly change, but did get buffed. Veteran did get buffed. It is still D tier in my opinion, just because it got buffed enough to where you can mention it. And let me explain what that buff was. Veteran now loses alerts the night before the timer begins, fixing the 1 night gap. So that's just more of a buggy fix thing, but it at least makes the information easier to understand. Soul Collector will now tell you when your souls are reaped, or who you've reaped souls from. More information is always better. And we're going to throw the new... I don't have the graphic for it, but the new Warlock role. I'm also going to put in C tier for now. Obviously, you can choose targets that are very... So it's a double-edged sword here. So you can choose targets that are very active and will vote guilty quite a bit. But most people aren't going to check those unless it's like a TP or a TK claim. But if you choose the less active people that might end up being framed for Warlock, they might not just vote guilty. So it's a double-edged sword there. C tier. I guess I should have started with that because that was the new one. Starspawn. If there was an SS tier, Starspawn belongs there. Starspawn got buffed again. Thanks not only to Crusader now just being a townie star, a worse Starspawn, obviously, but also on the basis of now it doesn't say Starbound. It just says an unstoppable object or an immovable object. And so that could be Jailer, that could be Crusader, that could be Starspawn. And so Starspawn's going to remain more hidden. I still think they need to nerf Starspawn, and you can't Starbound, you can't block the same person twice, just like Crusader. I do have Pest on here. Pest was sitting in C tier and will remain in C tier, but we do need to mention that Pestilence, when directly added, was buffed to where it could actually do its job properly. Talk about things that was buffed. Auditor now can't die from the serial killer. Let me rephrase that. Auditor rule blocking the serial killer. And I'm going to double check this just so I know that I'm doing it right. Yeah, fix the bug that allowed Auditor to die to Serial Killer when role blocked. That's nice. That's technically a buff for Auditor. Evils when Starbound, just as a general, Evils now will actually go through. They've been fixing that bug for like 4 updates. Necromancer now will tell its people that it's actually doing its job. The Monarch got a buff and then a nerf. So the buff is it now works when accompanied. The nerf is nerf came in 1.2.1. I'm going to pull that up just so that I'm right. Monarch Knighting despite unknown obstacle. So it would ignore Starbound Jailer. Oh, that would have been really cool. Pull back up the list. Nerfs that are still in the top tier. Jailer now is not confirmed from jailing things. I'm actually going to stick it in A tier. I think that hurts Jailer quite a bit. Plague Bearer, when recruited, I should mention, has been buffed to where it can actually plague other Apoc. And that's like the big changes. So let's go through the list and see what hasn't changed. Admire is F tier. If there was an FF tier, I think Admire would be in there. Amnesiac is still F tier. That's just the role. They can't fix that. Trapper is still the worst TI. Dreamweaver, they have not seemed to touch a whole lot. Same with Shroud. Move these closer. Pirate, they did add things, but Pirate's also not supposed to be like a for realsies role. Doomsayer is still not fun to play. Vampire is always not fun to play. It doesn't matter if it's BetterTOS2. Inquisitor, they need to do something to make Inquisitor better, in my opinion. And despite all the things they did for Baker, it's still not good. In D tier. Actually, we're going to bring this down. Sheriff's going to end up at F tier. Just not enough information to work. Coroner's sitting in D tier. Investigator is sitting in D tier. Tavern Keeper is sitting in D tier. Actually, I'm going to say Tavern Keeper is now F tier just because Crusader does its job better. I mean, Tavern Keeper's more targeted, but now it can't confirm itself as easy. Let me make sure that I'm not going off the screen. I'm sure not. Wildling is still not great in terms of Coven. Banshee is fun, but not very useful. I'm going to actually put Jinx up to C tier. Because of all the Necro passing and the morphing, I think Jinx can be useful. Werewolf and Arso for the same reasons, just does not have killing power. Here's one that I failed to mention, and that's just because it didn't get buffed. This update, it got buffed in a patch. Trickster is not F tier anymore. Trickster can now just use unlimited tricks. Which, it's a good thing. In one of my games, I claimed Trickster, and I claimed not to trick anyone. I'm glad that I didn't get caught. Seer still ends up in C tier. Vigilante still ends up in C tier. Cleric, Bodyguard, and Oracle are all C tier. They don't change. Poisoner, because of the book, still remains in C tier. It is now more important than ever, and I'm going to buff it, that Judge is around. It doesn't just one trick pony Marshall anymore, but the finding out of abilities is really good for like Pandora TT and Egotist. And Serial Killer is still C tier, still the best NK. B tier, Psychic, arguably Psychic's better now, but we're going to leave it there. I'm going to stick Retributionist back down at C tier. Enchanter more than ever is B tier. Voodoo Master is still... I'm actually going to put Voodoo Master because of the Coven nerf, or the Coven morphing. Voodoo Master is now A tier just because Voodoo Master is going to be so useful with that. Medusa is still B tier. Witch. Oh, no, that's not Witch. Witch is up here. Speaking of A tier stuff, we got Pross. I'm going to put Pross at B tier. If it was... it'd be the best Town Hall if it was vanilla. Mare, though, is A tier. Lookout is still A tier, even though I never get it. Tracker is A tier. Witch, A tier. Ritualist, A tier. Hexmaster, A tier. Berserker, A tier. And last, Potion Master is still the best Coven role. That is a tier list. That is a tier list, guys. You notice I don't have any S tier town rolls. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 A tier town rolls and 1, 2, 3, 4 B tier town rolls. So town has gotten weaker. Or it's more of the other rolls have gotten stronger, in my opinion. We'll see what that looks like for the version 1.2. I bet we're going to be sitting, or version 1.2.1, sorry. I bet we're going to be sitting on this for quite a while. But I really hope you enjoyed. We will be continuing with some of this tier list stuff as we continue on throughout the life cycle of this version. Thank you.